I want to talk to you about Rob's. So rollover for business startups, and this is actually your ultimate guide to the whole program. Okay, so if you want to understand what a Rob's is and how to really set up one, this is the video I want you to watch. So let me first give you an overview here. So if you think about a Rob's, a rollover for business startups, this is actually a way for a business owner to access their personal retirement funds, tax and penalty free. So without taxes, without any penalties. Okay, and what happens here is that completing actually a ROBS can be a complex process because it really requires you to navigate multiple areas of tax rules and regulations, not just at the federal level, but also at the state level. Okay, that's important. So basically, you got to be ready. You got to streamline your process. Okay. So what happens here is that a ROPS actually requires that funds be transferred from your personal retirement accounts into your corporation's retirement plan, and the corporation's retirement plan, acting as a separate entity, then purchases stock in the company. And so this provides the corporation with additional funds, which is kind of similar to companies have access to see more funds when individuals purchase stock in a publicly owned business. Okay, so this is kind of important. So a ROBS is not a loan. Just be aware of that. I want to really clarify that it's not a loan. So there is no interest charge or funds that must be repaid. So basically, to help you navigate the various tax rules and regulations needed to complete a ROBS, ROBS providers often charge fees ranging from $1,000 all the way to 5 grand. Okay, so depending on the amount of fees charged, they may also require you to have a minimum balance to ensure the expenses are not excessive in relation to the amount being rolled over. So a minimum balance of $50,000 is actually considered standard. Okay, so if you think about a ROBS rollover actually provides tax and penalty free access to retirement funds, has no requirements for credit score, time in business, or revenue, does not require collateral, provides funds that can be used for a variety of business related expenses, and it also has no interest charges and loan payment requirements. So that's kind of cool. So who is a ROBS right for? So a ROBS can be beneficial for you if you are a business owner who needs access to funds fast. Okay. You also have early stage businesses. So you want to really consider a ROBS if you are an early stage business, because what happens here is that using personal loans, personal not personal loans, personal resources can benefit your business if you lack other resources to get your business up and running. Okay. So using a ROBS in place of traditional debt financing allows you to fund your business with limited restrictions for however much you may need, depending also on your available balance. Okay. So a ROBS can also be interesting for you if you want to avoid debt payments, if you are unable to qualify for a traditional business loan, or you do not want to hurt your credit. Maybe your FICO score is already low and you don't want to really hurt it further. So a ROBS can be interesting for you. One thing I need to say here is that ROBS is a tightly regulated space, if you will. And so there are some prohibited uses of ROBS funds. So for instance, paying yourself an unreasonable salary is really it's actually forbidden. So to avoid penalties or fees, the salary you pay yourself must be considered reasonable, and you will need to be able to support this if audited by the Department of Labor or IRS. Also, funding a business that is not an active operating company also is not allowed. Okay, or funding a business engaged in activities that are not federally legal also is prohibited. Paying a certain third party professional fees. So ROBS business funding, the ROBS business funding, cannot be used for certain third party services such as setting up and maintaining the ROBS program. Rather, these services must be paid for using a separate source of funds and also using a business property for personal use. So, using ROBS funds for anything other than business purposes is actually prohibited by the IRS big time. So, doing so can result in fines and penalties. So, what are the criteria here? What are the ROBS requirements? What should you keep in mind this year? So, the requirements actually are pretty diverse, okay? So, you need to verify that you have an eligible retirement account first. So, 401k or a 403b or a thrift savings plan, a traditional IRA, a KIOG, or a simplified employer pension, a SEP. So that's the first thing. Next, you need to meet the minimum retirement plan balance. So a minimum balance of $50,000 an eligible retirement account is typically required to do a ROBS rollover. You also need to create a C corp. So to do a ROBS, your business must be structured as a C corporation. No other business structures are eligible. Okay. You also want to draw a salary as an active employee. So, one requirement of the ROBS program is that you must draw a reasonable salary, which is something that may be reviewed if audited by the DOL, the Department of Labor, or IRS. You also need to allow employees to contribute to the C Corporation's retirement plan. So, to remain actually compliant with IRS regulations, you must allow employees to contribute to your company's retirement plan. So some flexibility can be granted, such as requiring new employees to reach a minimum number of days of employment before being eligible to participate. In terms of cost, if you think about the ROBS, you have one-time fees, but also recurrent fees. So for one-time fees, you're looking at $1,000 all the way to $5,000, and for recurrent fees, it's anywhere from $100 to $200. Okay, and those fees, those monthly fees, typically cover the cost of maintaining your C corporation's retirement plan. It also covers services provided to you for things like ongoing administrative and guidance for paperwork filing requirements. So, what are the steps here? So, if you want to really get a ROBS set up this year, you have to first establish a C corporation. I think I already said that. Okay, your business must be structured as a C corporation. This is largely because this business structure is the only one that can issue the type of stock that will allow you to get access to your personal retirement funds. Okay, S corporations, partnerships, and sole proprietorships will be unable to pursue a ROBS for business funding. So this is important. You want to set yourself up as a C corporation first, okay? Next, you need to create a retirement plan under the C corp. So once you have the C corp umbrella set up, you need to create a retirement plan under it. So if you are already structured as a C corporation or have created a new C corporation, you need to actually create a retirement plan. So some retirement plan options include, I think I just said that to you, 401k, 403b. You also have a defined contribution plan, but also a defined retirement plan, defined benefit plan, rather. Next, you want to choose a custodian for the retirement plan. So after establishing a C Corp, creating a retirement plan under the C Corp, you want to choose a custodian, okay? And the custodian can provide a platform for plan participants to manage their accounts and is also responsible for the administration and management of paperwork and logistics for all plan participants, such as issuing year-end tax forms, monthly statements, trading, and more. Next, you want to roll over funds from personal retirement accounts to the C corporation's plans. Okay, this is kind of important. And you want to use the C Corp's plan to purchase stock in the company. So What happens here is that once your C Corp's retirement plan is funded, it will purchase shares of stock in the company. Now, in other words, the retirement plan gives funds to the corporation in exchange for shares of stock, and this makes funding available to the corporation, which can then be used for business related expenses. And finally, use the available funds for a qualified business purpose. Okay, so business uses can include things like payroll, equipment, machinery, vehicles, furniture, and also operational expenses. So you pretty have a large area of use cases. So there are some extras I want you to really pay attention to. I want to talk to you first about the ROBS rollover compliance requirements. So once you set up a ROBS, you need to really comply, okay? And the compliance requirements include filing business tax returns. So you must file your C corporation's tax returns promptly every single year to remain compliant. So I'm speaking here about Form 1120. That's Form 1120. You need to also file Form 5500 for your retirement plan. Okay. You need to maintain an ERISA fidelity bond. This offers insurance protection to plan participants against loss or theft of funds as a result of illegal activity. And you must maintain adequate coverage, which is currently the lesser of half a million or 10% of the plan's value. You need to also do something else. You need to review state-specific requirements, okay? Because again, you have federal regulations, but also state regulations. You need to keep your C corp in good standing, and you need to maintain status as an active operating company, okay? That's important. And you may need to think about unwinding a ROPS in case things don't really pan out the way you want them. You want to really understand that you want to determine your company's value. Okay. So determining your company's worth can be accomplished by performing an appraisal of the business assets, okay, and also the current stock price. So after determining your company's value, you want to ensure that the C Corp purchases shares from the retirement plan. You want to terminate the retirement plan. So basically, now additional paperwork may also be needed to be filed depending on where you are located and the specific details of your business, okay? And finally, you want to file paperwork with the IRS, okay? So again, this form, it's Form 5500. This is the form you have to file to notify the IRS formally that your corporation's retirement plan has been terminated, okay? Now, skipping this step can result in the IRS assessing fines and penalties to you. So let me give you a few best practices here. I'm still talking to you about ROBS rollover for business startups, okay? So how do you choose a ROBS provider? This year, well, you want to look at a few things, okay? You want to look at their fees, because in addition to upfront costs associated with getting the ROBS, you also want to think about any ongoing recurring expenses that may be charged for maintaining your company's plan. You also have audit protection. Because of the complexity of a ROBS, think carefully about how audits will be conducted if you are selected by the IRS for a review. You want to have a provider that has a money back guarantee. Some companies offer this to give you an extra layer of confidence that you will receive a high level of service. Also, think about the legal support and other resources. Because if you think about it, a ROBS deals with tax regulations, okay? So you might need some legal support, but also ongoing support. So that's something that's important to think about. And there are some common mistakes to avoid with the ROBS this year. So for instance, feeling uncertainty about the return on investments, rolling over the wrong amount of funds. This could be also problematic to your company, but also your ROBS account. overlooking compliance requirements. So again, even after you have set up your ROBs, you still have to stay on top of recurring compliance paperwork and other requirements. So that's something that you want to really pay attention to. And you also have you have associated costs. So do not overlook those associated costs. If you go through a ROBS, you will need to maintain your company's new retirement plan. Most ROBS provider can do this for you in exchange for a monthly fee of $100 to $150. So something to really think about. So you also have some risks associated with the ROBS. Just remember that because a ROBS is a part of your personal retirement account. Okay, so your personal finances could be at risk if your business were to fail. Really. Okay, so this is something to really think about. And you also have alternatives to a ROBS. You have an SBA loan, for instance. You have a startup business loan to kind of help you out. You have loans from friends and family. You have venture capital, but you also have angel investors. So something to really think about this year. Which one will be faster for you? Which one will give you the amount of funding that you really need? So again, it's a matter of a fit, if you will. So the thing is, if you think about it, Robs, I want you to really understand that basically you do not want to really use ROBS outside of the regulation, the regulatory space. Okay, so if you use a ROBS for non-business expenses, for instance, you can be assessed fees and penalties if you complete a ROBS rollover, but do not use it for qualified business expenses. So if you're thinking about starting a business or purchasing another company, this is a risk that should be taken into consideration. Okay, if you are unsure, you will see it through to completion. And also, if your business fails, you could lose all of the personal retirement funds that were used in the ROBS rollover. So businesses that fail must also file additional paperwork to properly terminate and unwind the ROBS program. So something to be aware of if you are going this route this year, especially if you have a significant ROBS to actually to consider. Okay, and one thing I want to say also is that when it comes to ROBS, every industry is different. Okay, but you have to really it's just better to ask questions before, during, and after a ROBS setup. And if you have questions right now, please let me know in the comment section. ROBS is a pretty complex matter that I will be happy to clarify for you. Okay, so before you go out there and look for a ROBS provider, please ask all questions that you may think about in the comment section, and I will certainly get back to you very fast. Okay. As a recap in today's conversation, I spoke to you about the ROBS. So this was a ROBS guide. I give you the overview, the criteria, the steps, the extras, the best practices, and now the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.